Hello, my friends. Dorothy here. We're going to talk about the new moon in the sign of Libra. So it is on October 21st. And while we're doing that, I'm going to grab the chart. It's October 21st, and it is at 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time. So we have a couple things going on with this chart. So I want to talk about the new moon as well as some of the other aspects that are part of it. And yeah, it's really big. It's important. There's so much divisiveness in the world these days that when we do have a new moon in the sign of Libra, it's bringing that to our attention. I know we don't need much to bring it to our attention these days, but when are feeling things are out of balance or we're able to witness that, it's going to be our jobs and should be our intentions to bring harmony and balance back into our lives. And that's what this new moon in Libra represents. And, of course, the energy of this is harmony and balance and the insight around that and bringing things to a space where we can ask ourselves questions like, what support do I need in the world, and how can I help support others without losing my own voice? Because we're looking for that balance. It doesn't mean we ever find it, but we are seeking it. A lot of us really need more of this. But things are at an extreme place for a lot of people these days. And it just feels like, things are just really way out of balance, and we need to bring them back into balance a little bit more. I don't feel that we're going to get 100% there, but it's what the world is showing us is how things are very much out of balance. And it's important for us to figure out in our own world, because for me, it's always about what's going on for me. How can I help bring things back into balance? And what imbalance looks like to me is very different than what it looks like to you. So questions we can ask ourselves as well when we're feeling the energy of this new moon is, how can I do this without losing my own voice, or, without my voice having to outweigh somebody else? Maybe it needs to for a few minutes or for a little while, just so you can start to feel like you're getting some things back into balance. So that's a piece of what this is. This new moon in Libra is us really figuring out and deciphering what it is that we can do to bring more equilibrium into our own lives. Okay. And since it's at the very end of Libra, with just about the sun will enter Scorpio soon, just a day and a half later. And when it does do that, we have this opportunity to spend that whole astrological month going deeper into what all of that means. But as you can see in this chart, excuse me, we can see here that we have a couple other things going on. And one of the things that I talked about in my written blog on my website, DorothyMorganAstrologer.com, was that this new moon is just past the quincunx aspect to Saturn. And so what does that represent? And what that represents is a period of underlying tension, right? That subtle tension that the quincunx brings, because the quincunx brings tension. It represents that we need to make some adjustments, right? Because things aren't feeling as harmonious as we want them to, but we're really feeling it. And this is an opportunity with that hard aspect to Saturn for recalibration. And it helps nudge us into a more realistic step. um, where do you feel like committing more? And what are your responsibilities? So while that Libra energy encourages us to connect with what we think is beautiful, harmonious, and balanced, the Saturn connection, the difficult Saturn connection reminds us that these things that we're seeking require effort and work and sometimes adjustment. And so we get to make different choices about those things. And then what else do we have? Right. It's within just a couple degrees of also making the quincunx aspect to Uranus. Let's make a circle with that. And that Uranus and Gemini. So we have, yeah, these are the same elements, so they're not officially a quincunx. However, with the new moon in Libra making the quincunx to Uranus, um, almost in Taurus, but it is in Gemini. What it is about messaging and the messages we hear, and we hear again and again and again. We're getting all kinds of different signals, and there's no clarity there. And so it's just let the energy of this just sit with it and observe it. It's not asking you to take any action. Because again, our main goal is this right here, that new moon in Libra. Let me erase everything. Actually, I don't even know if you guys are able to see what I'm sharing. Nope, here it is. You weren't seeing anything. I was making all kinds of marks on my board and you couldn't see it. Point being, there we are. I was doing that. I was doing that. I had the wrong screen up. There was that and that. And that makes a yod. And so what we have with all of this, like I was saying, is just comes down to the fact that we all feel deep inside that we have and we're seeking a more balanced existence right now, and we can set intentions and goals around that. However, it's like that's fine, and I want you to do that, but it's also questioning who's in charge, what the authority, and it depends on what your own life circumstances are. I'm not talking that we have to be talking about any heads of state, but if that's your focus, then that's going to be your focus. But it could just be anybody. It could be your boss. It could be, your professor, your teacher, whatever. The quincunx here is like, is this a fair and balanced relationship? Or am I getting what I need out of the relationship? Let's draw that again. And then the quincunx aspect over here to Uranus is about the messaging can be a bit confused and unpredictable. And so just sit back and witness what you're hearing for a couple of days until the sun and the moon move on and get past the first couple degrees of Scorpio. So just give it like about 3 or 4 days. Let's see. Yeah, once we get to the 24th, we'll be able to have a clearer picture of what the new moon represents for each of us in our own way. Again, depending on what our own focus is, because we all have our own focus. In my written blog, I do give us some point by point ways of using or manifesting with the new moon. So go ahead and check that out. Get on my newsletter email list. I only send newsletters a couple times a month, two, sometimes three, when I have something extra to say. And I never hammer you with a ton of emails. It's just not my marketing. I don't like it. I hate when people do that to me, so I won't do it to you. I promise. You'll just have to confirm your email, and that's it. After that, you get 2 or 3 a month, and it's just the forecast, so you can have a direct link to the email to the blog on my website. So that's the new moon. That's the new moon in Libra. Finding that equilibrium any way that you can. Locate the house placement for yourself as well if you feel like doing that. For me, it's in my sixth house of health and wellness. So, and my everyday routine. So I'm just going to make sure and just sit back and double check that I'm in good alignment with my own life and my own daily activities, right? Not too much work, not too much play. I don't play a lot, but you get my drift. You get my drift. Good. Now, just before the new moon, we had, and it's still in play here. It's like at 3 in the morning on the October 20th Eastern time. Mercury and Mars made their conjunction in Scorpio. And I have that in the weekly forecast. I go deep into that, so go check that out. But just generally speaking, overall, when these two are together, and this happens again at the new moon, just before, it just is an opportunity for us to take some deeper steps. Because that aspect actually happens when the moon is in the balsamic phase. And so what it represents is a period of really digging in deep and going a lot deeper. Let's see if I can grab that. I'm going to stop my share for 2 seconds. I'm going to go grab that chart because I think that'd be a wonderful one for us to look at just, for the heck of it. And I do have it here. So let's come back to us. I could find my way. I have Windows 11 now, so I'm having to, it takes a minute to find my way. Not having an easy time of it, but that's okay. It's not that difficult. It just takes a couple extra steps. So let's go here. And this is the Mercury Mars conjunction on the 20th. It's at 2:52 a.m. And where is it? There it is. So the moon is balsamic. And that tells me that on October 20th till the new moon on the 21st, again, which is at 8:25 a.m., we have an opportunity here to understand something deep within us that we need and want to understand. Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio. It's like the deep messaging. It's like a deep shamanic journey that you can go in to bring things to the surface to understand what's going on in your world. It is super deep psychological energy, and it could even be. And I hear the word as I'm saying this out loud, is deep psychological warfare in a sense where it's digging up the deepest fears and bringing them to the surface as well. And so since the moon is balsamic, it's not quite the new moon. This chart, I know I did just talk about the new moon, but it is a balsamic phase when these two guys come together. It just means that we could have some deeper things coming to the surface on the 20th that we were very much unaware of. And when we get to this new moon, here's the new moon. It's a separating aspect now, but that new moon making the quincunx aspect to Saturn and to Uranus gives us this opportunity to test the waters and start figuring out what our next step personally, what our next steps are in our own journey around finding, the equilibrium that we need, especially with what happened just before this new moon with Mercury and Mars conjunct in Scorpio, where some deeper psychological things could come to the surface, or you can just have a big opening and a big awareness and a big awakening that is super important. We can all have this. You don't have to, but we can. And it just gives you a deeper insight into who you are and what's your current life path about, right? Where that deeper energy goes. When the moon does, and when the moon and the sun will eventually get to 20 Scorpio, that will activate as well. The moon does it quickly. The moon will do it within, yeah, the moon will do it in the morning on the 23rd. The sun will be a couple of weeks. But just know that this is, I'm going to stop my share. This new moon in Libra is absolutely about creating the balance that you need in your own life. But the stuff for 24 hours before brings up a lot of stuff from the depths that we need to work on a personal level. And if it matters, you can put this in a global look. I don't want to work on the global stuff. I mean, I care, of course, but this is more for your personal journeys, okay, and figuring out what is best in your own life circumstances and the choices that you get to make. All right, go to my website, read the blog, consider joining any of my membership platforms because that really helps this content continue to move forward. So this is how I earn my living, and I appreciate you guys. And comment, like, and share. That helps immensely as well. Blessings, everybody. Namaste.